House voters approved some historic property tax cuts. Two propositions would change the state constitution and lower property taxes by increasing the allowable property tax exemptions for homesteads. So we'll dig into those. One of them, Prop 11, does so specifically for elderly and disabled homeowners, and that passed with nearly 80% of the vote. The other, Prop 13, is a bit more far-reaching. It increases exemptions from school district property taxes from $100,000 to $140,000 of the market value of a homestead. More than 82% of voters voted in favor of that, according to our latest projections. You can find more of those on KXAN.com. But here to talk about the impact of all of this and even some other property tax changes that might be going on in light of yesterday's election is Richie Gill of Gill, Denson and Company LLC. There's some Texas property tax advisors helping us wade through all of these changes. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Avery, for having me.
So let's start with those results. What do the numbers that we just showed folks really tell you about how Texans are feeling about their property tax bill?
So there's an overwhelming support for property tax relief in Texas. We have one of the highest property taxes in the entire nation. And this just shows us once again, we need to be focused on property tax relief.
So give us some perspective about what these changes will actually look like. Is there any kind of practical way that voters will now see this reflected on their bills?
Right, so there's a couple of things at play here in Austin. So even though Prop Q failed, we will have a modest increase in county and city taxes, but that will be more than offset with these Proposition 11 and 13. So with 13, which is probably the most important, the homestead exemption is increasing from $100,000 to $140,000. That should save the average Austin resident around $380. Proposition 11 for seniors over 65 and our disabled citizens, they will also see an increase in the exemption from $10,000 to $60,000, which should save them in the neighborhood of $475.
I want to drill in, we'll get back to Prop Q in just a second here, but I want to drill in on that Proposition 11. You know, when this was being discussed at the state legislature, some experts said it could allow between 80 and 90% of seniors to actually pay $0 in property taxes. Is that an estimate you agree with, or what will the impact be on our older Texans?
So I think that estimate could be accurate statewide. I think we need to remember in Austin, property values are greater than the average. And so if you have a property value over $200,000, you will still be paying school taxes. And we also have to remember 11 and 13, those propositions are focused on school taxes. We still have county, city, ACC taxes. So overall, if you're in Austin, you're likely to still be paying taxes.
You mentioned Proposition Q. We just told our audience about that, but we will remind them, and I think we have some of those results here, that voters rejected it. It would have been a tax rate hike that some city leaders said was necessary to preserve some core services and pay for those. But as you can see here, 63% of voters said no thank you to that. About 36% and nearly 37% were in favor of it. So it was a really heated discussion about Prop Q here. But what's your reaction to those results as the city was asking folks to pay a bit more here in Austin?
I think it was loud and clear. People don't want to pay more property tax, they want accountability. And that was one of the largest property tax increases we've seen on the ballot in many years. So it's really important to also understand that even though we did not pass that, there still will be a modest increase in those city taxes that don't require voter approval. So there's still an increase.
Is there anything else that folks need to know as their bill's going to look a little different, whether it goes up or down this year because of this election?
Yes, the most important thing to keep in mind and make sure you check is that you're getting all the exemptions you qualify for. So if you have a primary residence here in Austin, make sure you have that homestead exemption. If you're over 65, make sure you have the senior exemption.
We know that folks will probably be coming to you to get some of those questions answered too. But Richie, thank you so much for the context and a greater understanding about what people can expect when they start to pay those bills.
Thank you, Avery.
We appreciate it.